Hello to everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss the intrauterine growth restriction management part. The management of the pregnant woman with pathologically fetal growth restricted fetuses consists of close fetal surveillance to avoid fetal hypoxia and acidosis and determination of the optimum time for delivery. A second management issue is whether or not delivery should be by cesarean section. Method for the survival method for surveillance of the PFGR fetuses. Fetal heart rate monitoring. Fetal heart rate monitoring is an important tool in the follow-up of the pathologically fetal growth restricted fetus. When PFGR is detected in early stages, fetal heart rate monitoring show a sequence of changes, that is lack of the accelerations, decreased variability, and onset of the spontaneous deaccelerations. The usual frequency of the fetal heart rate monitoring for the pathologically fetal growth restricted fetuses is twice every week for 20 minutes. Fetal heart rate monitoring is a sensitive indicator for fetal hypoxia and acidosis. Presence of the fetal heart monitoring abnormalities is not itself indication for the preterm delivery unless the pattern is ominous with repetitive spontaneous deacceleration and absent variability. Physical profile. Now, what is the biophysical profile? These have the five parameters: fetal reactivity, fetal breathing movements, fetal body movement, fetal tone, amniotic fluid movement, volume. These five are the parameters in the biophysical profile. Now, when the NST is non-reactive, NST is equal to non-stress test is non-reactive and oligohydramnios is present. Biophysical profile score is of 6, but fetal movements and muscle tone are present. The fetus may be compensating adequately or may be mildly acidotic. Doppler assessment is necessary to confirm or rule out acidosis when the NST is non-reactive, oligohydramnios is present, and the fetal breathing movements are not seen. In this BPP score of 4. BPP score less than 4 are indicators of the fetal acidosis and no backup testing is necessary. The usual frequency of the biophysical profile observation is in the surveillance of the fetal growth restricted fetus is weekly or twice a week. Uterine artery Doppler velocimetry is better than the biophysical profile in predicting the fetal acidemia. Umbilical and middle cerebral artery Doppler. If systolic versus diastolic ratio increases in the uterine artery Doppler, then admit the patient, betamethasone cover, and Doppler monitoring should be given. Absent diastolic flow in the uterine artery Doppler, admit the patient, give betamethasone cover, and daily Doppler monitoring. If reversal of the flow occur, then termination of the pregnancy should be done. If reversal of the diastolic flow in the uterine artery Doppler, termination of the pregnancy done after giving betamethasone. Umbilical and middle cerebral artery Doppler. The presence of the increased uterine artery systolic versus diastolic ratio with concomitant decrease in the middle cerebral artery systolic versus diastolic ratio, or the presence of the centralization, that is middle cerebral artery systolic versus diastolic ratio become lower than the uterine artery systolic versus diastolic ratio, are not indication for the preterm delivery of the pathologically fetal growth restricted fetuses. Absent diastolic flow and reverse diastolic flow are sign of the decompensation of the fetal homeostatic mechanism and are an indication for the delivery. Venous Doppler. The alteration in the venous flow characteristic of the fetal hemodynamic decomposition and proximity of the fetal death are the presence of end diastolic pulsations in the umbilical vein, interrupted forward flow in the Doppler velocimetry. Amniotic fluid volume. This evaluation should be performed every week and the frequency of the NST should be increased if the amount of the fluid decreases. The possibility of a severe congenital fetal malformation must be considered when severe oligohydramnios is found in initial evaluation of the pathologically fetal growth restriction. Management of the PFGR fetuses. Optimum management will avoid delivery of the preterm PFGR infant that is adequately compensating for the placental failure and will recommended delivery when initial signs of acidemia are detected. Once acidemia is established, the probability of a poor neonatal outcome is significant. The prognosis and surveillance of the PFGR is different depending on the gestational age at the time of diagnosis. It is possible to distinguish three groups of the patients: pathologically fetal growth restriction before 24 weeks, second is the between 24 to 32 weeks, and third is after the 32 weeks. Before 24 weeks of the gestation, PFGR before 24 is uncommon and prognosis is extremely poor. This situation occurs in the most severe cases of the abnormal placentation or is genetic in origin. There is no evidence that corticosteroids accelerate the fetal lung maturity or prevent the development of the IVH in these PFGR fetuses. Between 24 to 32 weeks of the gestation, majority of the cases of the fetal growth restriction are placental in origin and approximately 20% have genetic basis. When uterine artery shows absent diastolic flow and the fetal heart rate monitoring does not exhibit spontaneous deaccelerations in the Doppler velocimetry may help in the decision to delivery or to continue the pregnancy. If the Doppler velocimetry waveforms show interruptions or reversed forward flow, or the pulsatility index is more than 3 standard deviation from the mean, the fetal prognosis is poor and the delivery is indicated. If none of these alterations exist, it is permissible to continue the pregnancy with daily monitoring until further deterioration in indicated by spontaneous deaccelerations of the fetal heart rate RDF in uterine artery or interrupted forward flow in the Doppler velocimetry. Between 32 to 36 weeks of the gestation, fetus with placental insufficiency in the third trimester can be classified, and the woman with abnormal uterine and normal umbilical Doppler, woman with normal uterine and abnormal umbilical Doppler, woman with abnormal uterine and umbilical Doppler. These three conditions are managed according to this flow chart. After 36 weeks of the gestation, the progression of the placental insufficiency and its effects on the survival test is shown in this flowchart. For the timing of the delivery, the factors which should be considered are the duration of the pregnancy, degree of the fetal growth restriction, associated complicating factors, results of the antenatal fetal surveillance, availability of the neonatal intensive care. Method of delivery: low rupture of the membrane followed by the oxytocin. It is employed in case of the pregnancy beyond 34 weeks with favorable cervix and head is deep in the pelvis. Prostaglandin gel could be used when the cervix is unfavorable. Intrapartum monitoring: because the risk of the intrapartum asphyxia is high. Caesarean delivery without a trial of labor when the risk of the vaginal delivery are more. Now, the indications for the cesarean delivery in the pathologically fetal growth restricted pregnancies: initial or established fetal acidosis, no increase in the EFW in ultrasound examination 3 weeks apart, oligohydramnios with repetitive variable deaccelerations. General, there is no proven therapy for reversing growth restriction once it is established. However, the following may be tried with some success: adequate bed rest, appropriate therapy for the associated complicating factors, and correct malnutrition, avoidance of smoking, tobacco, alcohol, maternal hyperoxygenation at the rate of 2.5 liter per minute by nasal prong, low dose aspirin that is 50 milligram per day, and maternal volume expansion can be used. Care during delivery. Delivery should be in an equipped institution where intensive intranatal monitoring is possible and having a facility for the neonatal ICU. The precautions during labor are these required for the preterm delivery, as the birth should be gentle and slow. Episiotomy may be done. Tendency to delay is curtailed by low forceps, as such routine forceps is not indicated. Immediate care of the baby after birth. The cart is to be clamped immediately after birth. The cart length is to be kept along about 10 to 12 centimeters in case of the exchange transmission. The air passage should be cleared of mucus. Adequate oxygen should be given. Intensive care protocol. These require special care are judged by inability to suckle the breast and to swallow, inability to regulate the temperature within normal limit, that is 96 to 99 Fahrenheit, inability to control the cardiorespiratory function without cyanotic attacks, prevention of the hypothermia and its sequel, that is hypoxia, hypoglycemia, anaerobic metabolism, metabolic acidosis, aqueous solution of the vitamin K 1 milligram intramuscularly to prevent hemorrhagic in manifestations should be given. Now, this is the management protocol chart for the fetal growth restriction, and it should be according to this chart.